On March 11, 2023, at approximately 18:26 hours, deputies of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office responded to a missing person call from the residence of Henry Joseph Callahan, DOB, November 12, 1969, located on North 158th Drive in Surprise, Arizona. The individual reported missing was Callahan's son, Michael Henry Callahan, DOB, May 21, 1995, who had not reported for work or contacted his partner in over 48 hours. Initial background interviews revealed that Henry Callahan, a retired Air Force technician and church-affiliated volunteer, had long expressed discomfort with his son's homosexuality, first disclosed to the family in 2016. Multiple statements from neighbors and extended relatives described Henry as a proud, traditional man who believed in a proper family legacy. Michael, a graphic designer and volunteer with local LGBTQ+ youth programs, had recently announced plans to marry his partner of 3 years, an event that, according to Michael's friends, had severely fractured the father-son relationship. Witnesses last saw Michael at the family home on March 8, 2023, around 1900 hours. He was reportedly meeting his father for a private dinner, following escalating text exchanges that investigators later obtained via warrant. The content of those messages included statements from Henry such as, "I raised you better than this," and, "You're killing your mother with this nonsense." The family's matriarch, Mary Callahan, was undergoing cancer treatment at the time and was in an assisted care facility. She was reportedly unaware of the ongoing conflict. Following the dinner, Michael was not seen or heard from again. His vehicle, a 2017 Honda Civic, was later located in a Walmart parking lot 3 miles from the family residence. Keys were missing, and surveillance footage showed the car being parked by an individual matching Henry Callahan's profile shortly after midnight on March 9. Further review of cell tower data and Henry's known movements revealed significant discrepancies in his stated timeline. Investigative review of digital forensics and witness testimony suggests that the murder of Michael Henry Callahan was premeditated. Interviews with co-workers and close friends of Michael indicated he had grown increasingly anxious in the weeks leading up to his disappearance, citing escalating tension with his father. In a text exchange dated February 24, 2023, Michael told a friend, "If I don't show up to the wedding, check my dad's garage." On March 6, 2 days before the final known meeting between father and son, Henry Callahan purchased several items at a Home Depot in Goodyear, Arizona, including a 10-foot length of nylon rope, a 6 by 8-foot polyethylene tarp, industrial-grade cleaning bleach, and a roll of heavy-duty contractor trash bags. Store surveillance confirmed Henry's identity, timestamping the purchase at 11:17 hours. At the time of purchase, Callahan was not engaged in any home repair projects, and a later search of his property found none of the purchased items in active use. Investigators note that none of these purchases were reported to his wife or any household contacts. Michael arrived at his father's residence on the evening of March 8, 2023. Security footage retrieved from a Ring camera across the street confirmed his entry into the home at 18:56 hours. Notably, no footage exists of him leaving the premises. According to the subsequent confession obtained during post-arrest interviews, Callahan lured his son under the guise of reconciliation. He reportedly told Michael that he had been thinking a lot and wanted to understand. Investigators believe this was a false pretext designed to isolate and disarm his son emotionally. Callahan later claimed in interviews that the final straw was Michael's insistence on adopting children with his partner. Statements included, "He was destroying the family name, better it ends with me than continues in disgrace." Forensic analysis of the home revealed several anomalies. In the garage, luminol testing identified multiple areas of cleaned blood residue beneath the tool bench and near the rear wall. A forensic pathologist from the county medical examiner's office later confirmed that the blood traces matched Michael Callahan's DNA profile. Investigators located a section of the garage floor where the concrete had been scrubbed with an abrasive solvent. Subsurface residue confirmed the presence of hemoglobin, indicating an attempt to sanitize blood evidence. Michael's body was not initially located. However, tire track impressions from the garage matched those leading to the parking lot where Michael's vehicle was abandoned. These impressions, combined with surveillance footage, allowed detectives to establish a likely timeline for the body's removal. Cell tower pings placed Henry's phone traveling westbound on Highway 60 between 0:47 and 1:32 hours on March 9. Subsequent analysis of soil residue on the tires of the suspect's vehicle contained trace particles of red sandstone and iron-rich clay, consistent with terrain located in the Hasayampa River Preserve, 40 miles west of the Callahan residence. Despite exhaustive searches, Michael's remains had not yet been located at this stage of the investigation. Authorities believed concealment or disposal had occurred in a remote or water-adjacent location, given the suspect's military training and regional familiarity. By March 14, 2023, Maricopa County investigators shifted operations westward, focusing on terrain bordering the Hasayampa River. Based on Henry Callahan's travel data and topographic overlays, a coordinated search was initiated along a 12-mile corridor. The area, characterized by seasonal washes, mesquite groves, and high sediment runoff, posed significant challenges to recovery efforts. At approximately 9:32 hours on March 16, a DPS air unit spotted what appeared to be a disturbed patch of earth near a dry arroyo 3.4 miles southeast of the town of Wickenburg. Ground crews confirmed the presence of recent excavation. At a depth of 14 inches, wrapped in a black polyethylene tarp secured with nylon rope, investigators recovered the body of a Caucasian male later confirmed as Michael Callahan. The Arizona Department of Public Safety logged the recovery under Report No. DPS 0323-881. The body was found in a curled position, knees to chest, consistent with post-mortem concealment. The wrap included layers of plastic sheeting, 2 black trash bags, and adhesive tape. A red nylon zip tie had been fastened around the wrists, and bruising on the neck suggested manual strangulation, consistent with asphyxiation as the cause of death. A fractured hyoid bone was confirmed during autopsy, further supporting this conclusion. The body was clothed in a gray collared shirt and jeans, the same attire Michael was seen wearing on March 8. Forensic entomology placed time of death within a 48-hour window following that evening, aligning with investigative timelines. Soil embedded in the tarp matched both the dump site and trace deposits found in the wheel wells of Henry Callahan's Dodge Ram 1500. Inside the tarp, 2 personal effects were recovered, a wristwatch and a leather bracelet engraved with the initials MHC, both were positively identified by Michael's fiancée. Back at the residence, detectives executed a secondary search warrant. In a locked shed at the rear of the property, a roll of matching tarp, partial spools of nylon rope, and an opened box of the same model zip ties were discovered. Additionally, traces of blood were located on the doorframe between the kitchen and garage, chemically wiped, but still detectable via luminol and phenolphthalein testing. Henry Callahan was brought in for a formal interview at 14:05 hours on March 16. Initially cooperative, Callahan denied all knowledge of his son's disappearance. However, when confronted with the GPS evidence, forensic matches, and photographs of the recovered body, his demeanor reportedly shifted. He invoked his right to counsel at 14:47 hours, terminating the interview. Based on cumulative evidence, Callahan was placed under arrest for 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count of tampering with physical evidence. Booking was processed at the Maricopa County 4th Avenue Jail under inmate ID #MCA473621. In the days following the arrest, public reaction was subdued but divided. While local LGBTQ+ advocates called for hate crime enhancement charges, Arizona state law at the time lacked provisions that would apply retroactively to cases where bias was not overtly documented in commission. Prosecutors instead prepared to argue premeditation based on ideology and familial control, with the aggravating factor of the victim being a direct relative. Michael's mother, Mary Callahan, was informed of her son's death while in hospice care. According to attending staff, she remained unaware of her husband's involvement at the time of notification. Following his arrest, Henry Callahan was held without bail pending arraignment. The state of Arizona filed formal charges on March 17, 2023, under Maricopa County Superior Court Case Number CR 2023-74192. The charges included 1 count of first-degree murder, ARS Section 13 to 1105. 1 count of abandonment or concealment of a dead body, ARS Section 13 to 2926. 1 count of tampering with physical evidence, ARS Section 13 to 2809. Callahan entered a plea of not guilty at his initial appearance on March 20. Public defenders assigned to the case sought psychiatric evaluation, citing potential diminished capacity stemming from long-term stress, rigid belief systems, and alleged moral disintegration following his wife's illness. A Rule 11 evaluation was ordered by Judge Camille Farrow to assess competency to stand trial. During 2 separate court-ordered interviews, Callahan displayed consistent logic, clear recall of events, and a functional understanding of legal proceedings. Evaluators determined that while he may have held ideologically extreme beliefs, he was mentally competent to assist in his defense. He was deemed fit for trial on April 4, 2023. Meanwhile, investigators worked to reconstruct the sequence of events leading to the homicide. Forensic analysis concluded that Michael was likely attacked in the garage, as indicated by concentrated blood traces on the concrete floor, drywall scuffing, and a broken lamp found in the debris bin. Detectives theorized that an initial verbal confrontation escalated physically. Fingerprints belonging to Michael were found on the inside of the garage door, smudged and elongated, consistent with someone attempting to stabilize themselves during a fall. A second print, lifted from the tool bench, showed blood traces under the ridge patterns, further evidence that he had been injured inside the structure. A neighbor 2 doors down provided a previously unreported tip. On the night of March 8, between 21:30 and 2200 hours, she recalled hearing thumps followed by what she described as a dragging sound. She had dismissed the noises as part of a late-night home project. Her testimony, supported by time logs from her home security camera, later reinforced the case timeline. Prosecutors filed a motion to include character evidence under Rule 404(b), citing Henry Callahan's digital footprint. A forensic search of his personal laptop revealed bookmarks to forums and articles espousing anti-LGBTQ+ rhetoric, including archived religious tracts and pseudo-psychological materials discussing corrective parenting. Of particular interest was a PDF titled "The Burden of Sons, Keeping the Bloodline Pure," accessed multiple times in the weeks preceding the murder. On April 10, 2023, the Maricopa County District Attorney's Office confirmed it would pursue the case as a capital murder trial, seeking life imprisonment without the possibility of parole rather than the death penalty. The rationale cited the suspect's lack of prior criminal history and his cooperative post-arrest conduct. A grand jury convened on April 13 and returned a true bill on all charges within 3 days. Media coverage remained regional but intense. LGBTQ+ advocacy groups called for legislative reform, arguing that the case highlighted the lethal consequences of unchallenged ideological intolerance within families. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office issued a press release urging families in conflict to seek intervention and reiterating its commitment to equal protection under the law. On April 21, 2023, Callahan was formally indicted. Jury selection was tentatively scheduled for July 2023. Jury selection for State of Arizona v. Henry Joseph Callahan commenced on July 10, 2023, at the Maricopa County Superior Court. Given the case's emotional content and public exposure, voir dire procedures extended over 6 days. Jurors were extensively questioned about personal beliefs regarding family values, sexual orientation, and the role of parental authority in adult children's lives. A final panel of 12 jurors and 2 alternates was seated by July 17. The trial was presided over by Judge Camille Farrow. The prosecution, led by Deputy County Attorney Elena Mora, opened its case with a structured narrative: a father unable to reconcile his ideology with his son's identity, who chose premeditated murder to erase what he perceived as dishonor. Prosecutors outlined a forensic trail beginning with Home Depot receipts and surveillance, continuing through the crime scene analysis, and culminating in GPS data, forensic soil analysis, and Callahan's inconsistent statements. They emphasized motive, not a moment of rage, but an ideological execution. Key prosecution witnesses included Dr. Hal Monroe, forensic pathologist, who confirmed death by manual strangulation. Detective Leah Minter, who detailed recovery of the tarp-wrapped body and presented the zip ties, duct tape, and rope as matching materials from Callahan's shed. Michael's fiancée, Erin Delgado, who testified to the engagement announcement, Callahan's hostile response, and Michael's growing fear of his father. Defense counsel argued that while Callahan had opposed his son's life choices, the killing was not premeditated. Lead defense attorney Russell Petras attempted to shift focus to Callahan's emotional deterioration following his wife's cancer diagnosis, citing stress, isolation, and traditionalist trauma. They called two character witnesses from Callahan's church community who spoke to his history of civic involvement and family dedication, but under cross-examination, both acknowledged his strong opinions on biblical marriage and sons who fall away. Mid-trial proceedings were marked by the unexpected release of audio captured on a neighbor's Ring camera. A faint voice, later identified as Callahan's, could be heard saying, "You chose this. You'll go no further." Though muffled, audio analysts confirmed its likely match to Callahan's voice under standard forensic criteria. The recording, admitted over defense objections, became a central emotional and evidentiary moment for the jury. Closing arguments were delivered on August 11, 2023. The prosecution reiterated the methodical nature of the killing, emphasizing the timeline, purchases, concealment, and the statement caught on audio, "You chose this. You'll go no further." Deputy County Attorney Elena Mora framed the act as the culmination of ideological hatred, a crime of control and inheritance, not passion. The defense conceded that Callahan killed his son but argued for second-degree murder, citing diminished judgment under emotional stress. They asserted that the crime was not pre-planned in a legally definable sense but occurred in a moment of psychological rupture. The jury deliberated for approximately 9 hours over 2 days. On August 13, 2023, at 15:42 hours, they returned with the following verdict. Count 1, first-degree murder guilty. Count 2, abandonment or concealment of a dead body guilty. Count 3, tampering with physical evidence guilty. Sentencing proceedings began on September 4. Impact statements were delivered by Michael's fiancée, 2 close friends, and a representative from the local LGBTQ+ youth center where Michael had volunteered. Each described Michael as gentle, measured, and resilient. His fiancée, Erin Delgado, described the loss as not just personal, but cultural, the silencing of someone who refused to hide. Callahan declined to address the court directly. Through counsel, he submitted a brief statement of regret for the events that unfolded, without acknowledgement of motive or acceptance of responsibility. On September 6, 2023, Judge Camille Farrow sentenced Henry Joseph Callahan to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for the murder of Michael Henry Callahan. 5 years for abandonment or concealment of a dead body. 3 years for tampering with physical evidence. Sentences to be served consecutively. In her sentencing statement, Judge Farrow said, "You ended a life not out of sudden fear or confusion, but out of deliberate, unyielding rejection. A parent does not own a child. A family name is not a license to kill." Callahan was remanded to ASPC Amon in Florence, Arizona. As of October 2023, he remains in protective custody due to the nature of the crime and high-profile media coverage. Following sentencing, the Callahan case entered legal and social records as one of Arizona's most clear-cut examples of ideologically motivated familial homicide not formally classified under hate crime statutes. While the crime did not meet the criteria for a hate crime enhancement under Arizona law at the time, legal scholars and civil rights groups cited the case in ongoing efforts to expand definitions of bias-motivated violence within domestic settings. Michael Henry Callahan was buried on September 10, 2023, in Phoenix's Greenwood Memory Lawn Cemetery. His funeral was attended by more than 200 individuals, including students from the local art college where he taught part-time, members of LGBTQ+ advocacy groups, and staff from the youth center where he had volunteered for over 5 years. His mother, Mary Callahan, passed away from cancer 3 weeks later. She remained unaware of the full circumstances of her son's death at the time of her passing, according to hospice staff. In October 2023, the Arizona Coalition for Justice and Inclusion launched the Michael's Law Initiative, advocating for amendments to state criminal code that would recognize familial rejection or ideological coercion as aggravating factors in sentencing. Though the bill has not yet passed, it garnered bipartisan sponsorship and was pending committee review as of May 2024. Within the Department of Corrections, Henry Callahan remained in administrative segregation. Prison records indicated no notable disciplinary infractions, and he declined all media interview requests. He was reportedly visited only once, by a pastor affiliated with his former church, who later described the visit as tragically hollow. In November 2023, a scholarship fund was established in Michael Callahan's name at his alma mater, Arizona State University, designated for students facing estrangement or displacement due to their gender identity or sexual orientation. The fund was seeded with over $40,000 in private donations in its first 6 months. The Maricopa County District Attorney's Office issued a final case summary in December 2023, closing the file. The report concluded, "This case stands as a reminder that danger can reside not in strangers, but in the unyielding ideologies of those closest to us. Justice was achieved, but at the irrevocable cost of a life extinguished not for what was done, but for who was." The Callahan residence was sold in early 2024. The garage where the murder occurred has since been remodeled. The neighbors say the block is quiet again, but some still pause when passing the house, a reminder of how silence, tradition, and shame became tools of destruction.